Hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. Today, we're going to be ranking all of my liquid blushes. So there is absolutely a trend this year. This is definitely the year of the liquid blush. And I know there's still a couple coming out. I know Hourglass has one coming out very soon, and I probably will pick it up. But I really just wanted to rank the ones that I already have because there are some that I've had for quite a while, and there are some that I've picked up in the recent craze. So we are going to rank them today, and keep in mind, none of these are actually bad products at all. All of these liquid blushes are actually really good. So I really had to focus on ranking them based on my own personal preferences. But coming in at number 9, I actually have the Tarte Blush Tape wands, and I actually went back and forth on these so many times. I think I actually had them beating out the Charlotte Tilbury blush wands in a beauty battle, but I think I take it back. So these really are very pretty. These are of course minis. I purchased these in like a holiday gift set. I thought these were really beautiful when I first picked them up, and I still think they are quite pretty, but they're just so intensely glowy. I feel like it kind of gives that highlighter effect on the cheeks, and I don't want that all over my cheeks. I have no issues with the glowy blush, but when they're this glowy, they almost remind me of the Rare Beauty powder blushes. So for that reason, I drop these down. I just don't love an overly glowy finish. They do have a fair bit of pigment to them, but they do blend out quite beautifully, and they do really look nice on the cheeks. But if you do have texture or anything like that, you really might not like these the most. And again, I just don't love an overly glowy blush. And to follow up on that thought, coming in at number 8 is the Charlotte Tilbury Glowgasm Beauty Light Wand. So this is like the original glowy highlighter blush wand that kind of started it all. And this is a mini as well. And I do think this is very pretty. This is a very beautiful blush. I think I told a story in a video a couple months ago where my husband and I were out for dinner, and our waitress, who I recognized as a local makeup artist, was wearing this blush, and I thought for sure it was the new Rare Beauty powder blushes. So I asked her, and she said no, she was actually wearing the Charlotte Tilbury highlighter wand. And she also said that she had recently tried the Rare Beauty and that they are very similar. And I just don't like something that glowy. I do think these are beautiful, and again, I do think they have their moment, and they are like the blush wands that kind of started everybody being into these types of products. It's just that for me and my own personal preferences, it's a little bit too glowy. Like I said, I don't mind a little bit of glow, but I just don't want that highlighter effect on my cheeks. So for that reason, this one is at number 8. Coming in at number 7 is from NYX, and this is one that I do really like, but you have to be careful with. And this is the Sweet Cheeks Soft Cheek Tint. I have mine in Baby Doll, and I think this is so pretty. I've said this before, but liquid blush really isn't my go-to formula. I'm first and foremost a powder girl, but I do have a certain love for cream products as well. Liquid just isn't where I typically go. But this was the first liquid blush that kind of piqued my interest, if you will. I do think this is very pretty. It does have a squeeze too, but it is actually a doe foot, and the doe foot, the way it's shaped, it actually looks like a lip gloss to me. I'm half tempted to put this on my lips half the time. And this does have a little bit more of a moussey consistency, and this is one that is not too glowy at all. It just kind of imitates the finish of the foundation underneath. If anything, it leans a little bit more on the matte side. The reason that this is at number 7, because I love the price point, the product itself is great. The reason it's at number 7 is because it is very pigmented. It is one of those products where you want to do one dot and blend it out and then add more as needed. And as with most of these liquid products, my preferred method is always to put a little bit on my hand, work it into the brush, and then apply to the cheeks. And that's just always the best, most foolproof method for liquid products. And I highly recommend that with this because, again, this is very pigmented, and while I do want a little bit of pigment in my blush, I don't want something that is so intensely pigmented that it can be hard to work with, or I can easily go overboard. I would rather something that I can build. So I did put this one at number 7. I think this is a great drugstore option, especially if you like something that is very pigmented, but it's just not my personal favorite. Coming in at number 6 is probably the most famous of the liquid blushes, and these are the Rare Beauty liquid blushes. So I have a mini of the shade Happy, and I have a full size of the shade Bliss. So these are very well known for being very, very pigmented. So she does have some of these in a more matte finish and some that are in more of a radiant finish. And Bliss is one of the more matte formulas. But like I said about the NYX, this one really imitates the finish of the foundation underneath. So this just isn't going to give a glow. It is a really, really beautiful shade. Again, you don't need a ton, but this one is perhaps the least pigmented of the Rare Beauty liquid blushes. So this is probably the easiest one. I do think it's really beautiful. I think it's a great everyday shade. The shade Happy is more of a dewy blush. This one is that cool pink. And this one is really pretty as well, but this is one of the ones that are just so intensely pigmented that you want to be careful with it. And for that reason, I did drop these down. Again, I just don't love a very, very heavily pigmented blush where I have to be very careful when I use them. So for that reason, I did drop these down. They are really good. It's just they are too pigmented for me. Coming in at number 6 is from Flower Beauty, and this is their blush balm. So this is one of the more affordable ones that I have. This one does come in a squeeze tube, but it's nice because it is tapered, so you don't end up getting too much of the squeeze tube. This one, when you first squeeze it out, it's kind of very thick, but it does sheer out to be this really, really beautiful blush formula. It's pigmented, but it does sheer out, so you can build it up as you wish. I really do think this is a really, really beautiful formula. Like I said, it does sheer out, but it's not one of those that blends away, which I find to be very, very common with a lot of drugstore cream and liquid products. I think these are so, so nice. I think they're very underrated because I really don't hear much about them, but I do think these are definitely one of the very, very best liquid blushes at the drugstore, and I love the packaging. Like I said, I think the packaging is very well designed. I have the shade Pinched, which is just a really gorgeous peach. So I really do think this is an excellent formula as well, and I think this is probably one of the older formulas as well because this has been around for quite a long time. Coming in at number 5 are some more blush wands from Charlotte Tilbury, and I have the Matte Beauty blush wand. So I do have 3 shades of these. These I really do like. So they do come in that squeeze tube type formula, but like the Flower Beauty and the NYX, they very much mimic the finish of the foundation. So they do describe themselves as being matte, but it's really just whatever your foundation is underneath, but they're not going to give a super glowy cheek, which I really, really love. There's no glitter to them or anything like that. These are actually just really, really nice. I really just don't understand the naming convention. I mean, I find Peach Pop to be a little bit more pinky. Pink Pop is probably very peachy, and then Pillow Talk is actually a little bit more on the brownie mauve side, which I thought was kind of strange. However, I do love all 3 of these. I love wearing all 3 of these. I think this is a really nice formula. I much prefer these over the glowy ones. I definitely do prefer these. I think they're beautiful. They're very long wearing. They're easy to work with. They're easy to blend. They're pigmented but buildable, and they do sheer out when you put them on the skin. So I do love this formula from Charlotte Tilbury. I just also really don't like this sort of wand applicator. I really do prefer a doe foot for something like this, but otherwise these are really, really excellent. And coming in at number 4 is definitely the very, very best drugstore liquid blush that I've ever tried. This is from e.l.f. and this is their Camo liquid blush. This is so nice. I have mine in the shade Dusty Rose, and this is like a really beautiful, well, I guess dusty rose, but it does have a bit of peach to it. And I love this because a lot of people were saying that these are a dupe for the Rare Beauty, and kind of, but they are a little bit less intensely pigmented than the Rare Beauty, so they're a lot easier to work with. They do have a pretty long wear time, but not as long as some of the ones that are in my top spots. but these really are a fantastic product. They do have a pretty large doe foot, but not as large as the Rare Beauty, which I also kind of like. However, I just think this is a really, really excellent formula from the drugstore. I think e.l.f. did a really, really good job. I really don't try a ton of products from e.l.f., but these ones just kind of won me over, and they really are fantastic. Coming in at number 3 is one I tried very recently and kind of scared me at first. This is from Huda Beauty. This is the blush filter, and I have the shade Strawberry Cream. So at first I wasn't going to pick these up, but then I did anyway, and I was pleasantly surprised. I was expecting this shade to be a little bit lighter than it is. It is a little bit red leaning. It does have this cute little doe foot, and the way it's designed, it doesn't pick up too much, which I really do like. So when I first tried this on, I did 3 dots to the face, which is what it actually said to do, I believe. And it was too much. I kind of panicked. I thought, what did I do? This is way too much. And like I said, this shade ended up being red leaning. I was expecting a more light pinky shade. And I'd also heard people say that these were kind of sheer. I don't really think so. I would say they're not nearly as intense as the Rare Beauty, but they definitely do have some pigment. But what impressed me with this was, first of all, it smells good. It kind of smells like vanilla and candy. I don't mind it. I think it's a really nice scent. But what impressed me was, even though I got too much, I was able to blend it down to a really beautiful flush. I thought it was so pretty, and a red blush can look really, really nice. It's just, I have very fair skin, so it is so easy for products to be way too much on me. But I was so impressed with the way this blended down. I ended up loving the way it looked on my skin. I did have to blend a little bit longer than maybe I would have if I would have used a moderate amount. But the way that this blended out, it was just an absolute dream. So I love these. These are beautiful. Coming in at number 2 is probably the most interesting formula I've ever tried, and this is from ABH, and this is their Blurring Serum Blush. And this is another one that I fully intended to skip originally, and then I saw it in store and I just grabbed it because it was still really new. And the packaging is interesting because, much like the Flower Beauty, it is in a squeeze tube, but it comes to this really fine point, which is so well thought out because it does give you so much control over how much you get out of this product. I also just do think the packaging itself is very well made. When you squeeze out a little drop of this and you start blending it out, it has almost like a gel consistency, but it kind of dries down to almost like a powder, which is so interesting to me. And when it does dry down, it is quite matte, but it locks in there. It will not move all day. This is probably one of the longest lasting blushes I have. I really like this formula. Like I said, it is very interesting. I've used it a few times now because I'm so intrigued by the formula, but it's really just the way it feels like a gel, and then it blends out to this beautiful, beautiful shade. It ends up looking more like a powder, which then leads to it looking a little bit airbrushed, and then it just locks in place. It is a fantastic blush. I love this so much. I have the shade Baby Pink, and I didn't really think I would like it because it is a baby pink, but it's got like a lavender undertone to it, and I was not sure if this shade was going to be flattering, but I really like it. And my absolute favorite liquid blush is a bougie one, but it's one that really just combines every single thing I want out of a liquid blush. This is the Armani Luminous Silk Cheek Tint. I have the shade 50.5. This is so nice. So you do get this nice doe foot here. These are very sheer. So this is one formula where, at least with this shade, I don't know if maybe the deeper shades you could do this, but with this formula, I don't find it very beneficial to work it into the brush first. With this one, I actually do find it's easier to just put it on the cheeks and blend it out because it is so sheer, but it is also very buildable. So you can customize the amount of pigment you get out of this blush, which I absolutely love. And this is another one that just kind of, it's got like a soft glow to it. It's not fully matte, but it's definitely not full glowy highlighter effect on the cheeks. It's just got like a very natural looking glow to the cheeks. So for that reason, this is just the perfect liquid blush. It combines every single thing I want. It's blendable, it's super long wearing, it's easy to work with, it's sheer but buildable so you can customize it. It wears all day long. It's just the best of every single thing I'm looking for in any of these other blushes. So I've really been loving this formula. But that is all 9 of my liquid blush formulas ranked. And clearly, like I said, none of these are bad formulas. I really just had to rank on my own personal preferences. I don't love liquid blushes that are so insanely glowy, that are so insanely pigmented. I want something that is super easy to work with, easy to apply, blends like a dream, looks beautiful on the cheeks, buildable, customizable. All of those things are what I personally want in a liquid blush. And the ABH really crept up because it does have all of that. It is a little bit more pigmented, but it has all of that, but it's just such a fascinating formula that I keep coming back to it. And I know I did put some very popular liquid blushes in the bottom, but like I said, they're not bad. They just don't meet my personal preferences. But let me know down below, what are your favorite liquid blushes? Do you even like liquid blush? Let me know all of your thoughts down below. I love hearing from you guys so much. If you're new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go. I do upload new videos every single week. Thank you again so very much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!